No, he whispered. You don't start a fire when the air smells like lightning. The ship Alaris Breaker never stood a chance. It was fast, cloaked, armed with 5th-gen quantum warheads, but it got too close to the Solace-class vessel orbiting Neptune. In one blink, it vanished. No explosion. No radiation, just absence, like it had been forgotten by the laws of physics. The Council claimed it was a malfunction, a technical hiccup, but every species watching the broadcast knew better. Earth had responded, and they hadn't even moved. Inside, the Martian underground complex, Rail's wrist implant vibrated violently, an emergency override from Council Command. They were preparing full mobilization. Rail looked at Ward. You knew they'd try this. They always do, she said calmly. Fear makes empires predictable. He held up the transmission. You need to stop it. She didn't take the device. Instead, she turned toward a console embedded in the wall and placed her palm against it. A soft chime. Above ground, in the Martian sky, Solace turned. Not toward Mars, toward the stars. Every colony across Sol System heard the voice again. This is not war. This is correction. Back in the Council chamber, the lights died. Not from sabotage, from command. Every comm channel, every beacon, every planetary relay went black. Then a single message appeared on every screen across the galaxy. Not words. An image, a burning star, artificial, engineered, and beneath it, a caption in Terran glyphs. What you fear isn't our fire. It's that we never needed you to burn. On Mars, the Martian wind howled for the first time in a decade. Real stared into the sky. The stars looked dimmer. Ward stood beside him. It's not an attack, she said. It's a memory. A memory of what? She didn't answer. The lights above flickered once more, and across 12 sectors of space the returning ships began to open. Not to release weapons, to speak. They didn't use translators. They didn't use weapons. They used language. The kind that burrows deep, that rewrites what you believe about your place in the cosmos. Across 12 galaxies, the ships arrived. Each one drifted silently toward the capital planet of a species once aligned with the Council. Each one opened, not with bay doors, but with light. And then came the voice. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't angry. It was human. This is not a demand. The words echoed across the Drenari core worlds, over oceans of sentient kelp and crystal, towers. Children stopped breathing. Elders clutched memory stones. This is not vengeance. On the edges of the Zivan territories, 6 moons blacked out. Entire communication systems fell quiet. This is a remembrance. Inside each godship's transmission were videos. Unfiltered, undeniable. The Council's betrayal of Earth. The false peace treaties. The silent extermination campaigns. The mockery of humanity's backward logic. And then, Earth's silence. Not a retreat, a choice, a lesson. This is the cost of underestimation. In the Zarth Dominion, high priests wept as their sky turned to static. The ship hovering above their holy ring world showed them a final image. A boy, human, alone, staring at a burning skyline. He didn't cry. He watched, and he remembered. Real sat alone in a Martian observatory as the final message pulsed through the chamber. They taught their children history, not to hate, but to understand what silence costs. Commander Ward entered. It's done. Rail turned, voice hollow. You never intended to fire. Ward shook her head. We didn't need to. Outside, Solace began to ascend, quietly leaving orbit, joining the others in high atmosphere. What happens now? Rail asked. She looked out the viewport. They choose. The Council? She shook her head. No, humanity. The ships hovered in the stars, monuments not of power but of memory. And then across the stars, the same voice whispered a final line. We were never gone. We were becoming. The Council hall felt colder now. No wars had been declared. No Cities had fallen. And yet empires were collapsing, not from missiles, from meaning. Velox stood alone at the edge of the balcony, watching a distant sun blink unnaturally. A message. One more silent reminder. Behind him, the chamber remained quiet. No debates, no bluster. Everyone had seen it. The human footage, the memory cores, the truth, and the final map. A projection of the galaxy, red dots scattered everywhere, each one labeled with a time, not dates, countdowns. Not all the timers were the same. Some ended in days, some in decades, some in hours. What happens when they reach zero? Shaxian whispered. Ulrich stepped forward from the shadows. Then Earth decides. He said it without fear, without hope, just fact. They're not playing war anymore, Ulrich added. They're playing evolution. Far from the council, on Mars, Riel stood at the same observatory, now silent. Commander. Ward beside him. He looked at her exhausted. Why the timers? Because the galaxy never listened to warnings. So now, it listens to consequences. Are you saying Earth's going to erase entire civilizations? No, she said. That's not the human way. He looked confused. She turned to him slowly, her eyes calm. We're going to rewrite them. The stars outside shifted ever so slightly, as if blinking in acknowledgement. Each godship began to move again, but not toward war, toward species, toward planets, toward the broken parts of the galaxy Earth once tried to help and was punished for. They weren't returning to destroy. They were returning to change everything. The broadcasts came next. New schools, new languages, new laws, free, no military. Attached, no promises made, just silence broken. And across hundreds of systems, civilians began repeating a phrase they didn't understand, but felt in their bones. After silence comes reckoning. On Mars, Rael asked one last question. Why reveal all this now? Ward's reply was soft. Final. Because silence is sacred. She looked to the stars, where Solace and the others vanished into the void once more. And Earth just ran out of it. And all orbiting a single object, what is that? Yex whispered. A sphere. Black. Matte. No light reflection, no emissions. Just mass. Roughly the size of Earth's moon. That's not a moon, said one of the crew. That's man-made. The scan results came in. Material, unknown. Power core, inactive or hidden. Designation, USS Sovereign. Yex stood, tail uncoiling. They didn't just build warships, he muttered. They built an ark. No, said the comms tech, trembling. They built a vault. Then something happened. Not to the fleet. To the crew. Their ship lights flickered. Systems cycled. The engines stopped responding. And then every monitor, every panel, every screen flashed with a single image. A human eye, just one. And it blinked. All 6 Council stealth ships received it at the exact same moment. And all 6 heard the same words. You weren't supposed to see this yet. Captain Yex stepped back. They knew we were coming. They wanted us to, someone whispered. Outside the window, nothing moved. Not a single vessel. But deep in the shadows, something watched. The ships tried to retreat. 5 jumped to warp. The 6th vanished. No explosion, no debris, no distress signal, just silence. Again. The reports reached the Council within hours. Velox stared at the file and spoke only once. Recall all observation units now. But it was already too late. Earth knew they'd been seen, and Earth never did well with spies. The shuttle doors hissed open with a precision that felt rehearsed, not mechanical. Ambassador Rael stepped out into clean, pressurized air and a sky that shimmered with a burnt orange hue. Mars. But not the Mars he knew. There were no ruins, no military displays, no broken remnants of a once proud people. Instead, there was music. Soft, classical, strings echoing from hidden speakers woven into the rock. Rael blinked. "This isn't defensive," he muttered. "No," replied the human waiting for him. A woman, tall, uniform sharp, eyes older than they should have been. "It's a home," she extended her hand. "Commander Leon Ward, Mars Division." Rael hesitated, then shook it. "You knew we were coming?" "We always knew you'd come eventually. We just didn't care when." She turned and walked toward the transport pod. Rael followed, glancing around as he moved. The colony stretched far. Efficient domes, transparent highways, machines working, alongside humans in perfect silence. No guards with rifles, no tension. That was the tension. "Where is your military?" Rael asked. Ward didn't look back. "Everywhere, nowhere. We don't need to wear teeth to remind predators we bite." The transport pod launched with a smooth hum, gliding silently over the colony floor. Rael stared at everything. Children laughing, elderly sipping tea, engineers, welding micropanels beside gardens. "You've built peace," he said softly. Ward looked at him. "We built memory." He frowned. "Memory of what?" She didn't answer. The pod slowed. A building came into view, clean, elegant, simple. The doors opened without a sound. Inside, a long hallway lined with holographic displays, historical footage, Earth's wars, the betrayal of the Centauri Pact. The day the Council bombed New Geneva, entire cities turned to ash. Treaties signed, then ignored. "Why show me this?" Rael asked, voice tight. "Because we didn't forget." At the end of the hall sat a small pedestal. On it, a sphere, black, pulsing faintly. "What is that?" "A memory core," Ward replied. "Every child on Mars carries one in their neural archive. Every moment, every treaty, every betrayal, stored forever." Rael backed away slightly. "You're raising children on history?" "No," she said. "On purpose." The lights dimmed. A voice echoed through the hallway. Male. Human. Unfamiliar. "If you're seeing this, then Earth has chosen to listen." Rael turned. The sphere pulsed brighter. "But understand, listening doesn't mean weakness. It means judgment." A chill ran down Rael's spine. Ward stepped beside him. "You came here thinking Earth was waiting." He nodded. She whispered, "We were never waiting. We were remembering." Rael sat in a quiet room made of white stone and golden light, sipping a cup of something called Original Blend. It tasted like bitter dirt. He didn't mind. Commander Ward watched him from across the table, arms crossed. "Still thinking Mars is the center of everything?" she asked. Rael smiled nervously. "I assumed. It's impressive." "It's old." Rael blinked. "Old?" She stood and tapped the table. A holographic sphere rose from its center. Star charts, sectors, and one blinking point, far beyond. "The Sol system. What is that?" "Our frontier," Ward said. "Where the real work was done." "I thought your fleet was here, orbiting Mars." "No." She looked directly at him. "Those are leftovers, watchdogs. What you saw were statues." Rael stood slowly. "Then where's the real fleet?" She said nothing, just expanded the map, and Rael's breath caught. There were 12 blinking points, all in different corners of the galaxy, all marked with the same label, Vessel Class Departed. "We sent them centuries ago," she said, "before your council even noticed we'd gone quiet." Rael tried to process. "You left?" "We didn't want another war. We wanted understanding. So we sent them outward, carrying everything. We were data, AI, philosophy, science, human history packed into godships." He stepped back. "And now? They're coming home." The lights dimmed as the room shifted, walls peeling away to reveal the Martian sky. On the horizon, a single dot had appeared. Rael narrowed his eyes. "What is that?" Ward checked her wrist display. Her tone changed. "That's not a dot." The light grew. That's one of them. It pierced through the atmosphere like a silent spear. No sound, no engine roar, just presence. It hovered above the colony, so vast it cast a shadow over an entire district, and then it spoke, a voice transmitted across every speaker, comm, and implanted channel. I am Solace. I return not with wrath, but with judgment. Real's knees weakened. The voice was soft, but final. Every Martian citizen stopped what they were doing and listened. Ward whispered, almost reverently, "They're waking up." "Waking?" Rael asked, trembling. She turned to him, eyes lit. "By the sky above. You thought you came to negotiate with Earth." He nodded. "You didn't." She smiled. "You came to witness our return." Council session No. 903 opened with shaking hands. Not from cold, from fear. Velox stood before the hollow table, surrounded by flickering images of the 12 incoming vessels. Each one was different. Each one bigger than any known council ship, and none responded to hails. "They're not attacking," muttered General Tyrval, "but they're not ignoring us either." "They're watching," said Velox. "That's worse." Envoy Shaxson slammed his fist against the glass. "What is this? What are they?" "Not ships," came a voice from the shadows. Ulrex stepped forward. "They're judgments." "What does that mean?" "They were sent before Earth ever fell silent," he said. "What you're seeing now is the return protocol." Back on Mars, Rael followed Commander Ward deeper into the underground complex, no longer a guest, now a witness. The elevator descended silently, layers of rock giving way to white alloy. "You're taking me to a weapon," Rael said. "No," Ward replied. "Something more dangerous." The doors opened. A massive dome expanded around them. No soldiers, no computers, just a single human being, floating inside a vertical chamber of light. Eyes closed. Not dead. Not awake. Rael's voice dropped. "Who is that?" "Captain Alice Dren, first commander of the Solace Initiative. She volunteered to be entangled with the AI." Rael stepped closer. The chamber pulsed. "She is the protocol," Ward continued. "Every returning godship has a central figure like her, part human, part system. They think, feel, remember. They don't act on command. Then what activates them?" Ward looked at him. "You do." Rael froze. "Me?" "The moment the Council violates the treaty, again. The moment diplomacy becomes deception. The moment your fear turns to action. And if it doesn't?" Ward walked past him. "Then we rebuild Mars, raise our children, and continue remembering." A low hum filled the air. Rael turned. Captain Dren's fingers twitched. "Is she waking up?" "No," Ward said quietly. "She's listening." The silence that followed was thicker than threat. Outside, Solace still hovered. No lights, no weapons drawn. But every satellite in orbit had been pulled closer by invisible forces. Gently, like pawns being gathered. The Council's final message came through. A direct order. Initiate preemptive containment. Rael stared at it, then deleted it. The laughter in the chamber was thick, arrogant, ancient. High Chancellor Velox of the Jundari Council swirled his crystalline wine, the liquid catching a cold green shimmer beneath the chamber's light dome. "Earth," he said, savoring the word, like a joke told too many times, hasn't spoken in over 300 cycles. Their systems are dust. General Tyrval snorted, mandibles clacking. Silence is confirmation. They've perished, like all primitives who burn too bright too fast. Or, added Envoy Shaxson, voice dipped in venomous sarcasm, they finally grasped their place. Chuckles circled the obsidian table like vultures, but none noticed the blinking glyph at the edge of the council wall, until it pinged. Once. Then again, they froze. "It's from the Sol system," whispered the technician, eyes wide. "Old Earth." The room inhaled as one organism. Silence, now real, settled. "What kind of signal?" Velox asked, but his voice was smaller now. The technician didn't look away from the glyph. It's not a message, it's a tone. Just a single sustained frequency. No words, no encryption. But buried beneath the tone was a pattern. 12 pulses, equal intervals. Then silence. General Tyrval's mandibles twitched. What does it mean? It means they're back, said a voice from the shadows. Admiral Ulrex, long presumed retired. And they want us to know they never left. No one laughed now. The chamber lights dimmed. Not by malfunction, not by order. Every system connected to intergalactic broadcast feeds went dark for 7 seconds, and in those 7 seconds came an image, a blue marble. Earth. Spinning slow, intact, alive. Then the image zoomed outward. 12 colossal vessels hovered above the planet. Not in orbit, watching, waiting. Silent. Alien silence had always meant peace. Human silence meant planning. Envoy Shaxin turned toward the others. Why now? Why after all this time? No one answered, but everyone felt it. Fear, not of attack, of understanding that they never understood Earth at all. Admiral Ulrex's voice was barely a breath. They watched us erase their allies, rewrite their treaties, laugh at their quiet. And now, they've made their decision. Tyrval's hands shook. Deploy scouts immediately. But before the order even echoed through the hall, a second pulse arrived, this time from the outer rim. The scout ship they'd sent toward Sol last cycle had returned, or at least what remained of it. A black cube, compressed remains. Inside it, one file survived. A voice. Humans. Calm. Message received. Stand by. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't. The Council's war room had never been this loud. Admiral Ulrex stood apart, hands clasped behind his back, watching the madness unfold like a surgeon observing a patient bleed out mid-operation. Technicians yelled over each other. Tacticians argued over possible retaliations, despite no active aggression from Earth. Not yet. The scout ship was turned inside out, barked General Tyrval. No weapons trace, no distress signal, just folded. It means they've advanced, said Ulrex flatly. Beyond what we thought possible. Envoy Shaxin paced, his tail twitching in erratic rhythm. But they were behind us, centuries. Behind. We charted their tech plateau, primitive metals, fission drives, digital warfare. Ulrex didn't even turn. And then they went silent. The silence wasn't forgetfulness, it was hiding. By the time the recon fleet reached the edge of Sol's boundary, it was already too late to blink. The ships were fast, efficient, built for surveillance, not war, but war is what they found waiting. Not fleets, not turrets, just wreckage. Floating monoliths, twisted pieces of alien ships from past empires long thought victorious, all gathered in a silent graveyard that shouldn't exist. No transmissions, no beacons, just a single object suspended. Between them, a Terran satellite still functioning, rotating slowly. The lead pilot, Commander Irelax of the Zyvan Conquered, sent a standard protocol ping. The satellite replied with a video file. No encryption, just a human face. Middle-aged, dark eyes, scarred cheek. Calm. This satellite has no weapons, but we know what you fear. You fear that silence means weakness. It doesn't, it means memory. He smiled. And we remember everything. The feed cut. One of the Zyvan ships powered weapons and instantly lost all power. Not from an attack, from contact. The onboard AI went dark. The crew began screaming. Every screen in the cockpit now displayed one word. Remember. Back in the Council. Chambers' panic swelled. They've turned memory into a weapon, whispered Velox. That's not technology, that's psychology. No, said Ulrex. That's Earth. One of the technicians finally collapsed in a chair. What do we do? Ulrex answered without pause. We wait. Wait for what? For them? To speak. A tremor ran through the floor as the central beacon pinged again. Another file. Another voice. Same man. Same eyes. Still calm. We waited centuries to be forgotten. Now it's your turn. The room fell still. Even Hope refused to speak. The envoy vessel, Jaon's Promise, wasn't armed, at least not in the traditional sense. It was a diplomatic ship, white and gold hull shimmering like polished bone, its symbol of peace glowing, blue from every surface. Inside, Ambassador Rail kept rehearsing his lines. "Greetings. We come in peace. The Council regrets any—" He stopped. Even the words felt wrong now. Too old. Too arrogant. He looked through the viewport. Mars loomed ahead, red and cold. But it wasn't the planet that stole his breath. It was what orbited. A station. No, not a station. Something far larger. Like a cathedral made of titanium and memory. Hanging there in the void, cloaked in low blue fields, half buried in shadow and half lit by Mars's sun. Dozens of ships circled it. Not moving, not scanning, just watching. Rail's pilot whispered, "Is that a fleet?" "No," Rail replied. "That's a warning." The comms clicked. A voice broke through, female, human, confident. "Envoy Jaon's Promise, identify yourself." Rail leaned forward. "I am Ambassador Rail of the Galactic Council. I come unarmed with intent to establish—" "Intent doesn't matter." The line cut. The human fleet remained still, but one ship moved. A black angular vessel with no lights, no name, just mass and motion. Rail's pilot began shaking. "Should we retreat?" "No," Rail said, swallowing. "We complete the approach." The human vessel came close enough to fill their entire screen, and then it turned sideways, revealing its full silhouette. There were no wings, no decorative fins, no wasted armor, just rows of cannons, turrets, launch bays, mechanical dread, made into form. Rail stared. "They didn't evolve to impress us." "No," whispered the pilot. "They evolved to erase us." The human ship pulsed once, just a shimmer of light along its hull, and then stopped. Their message was clear. Not yet. Not unless provoked. Rail's voice shook as he opened the channel again. "Human command. We request safe passage to Earth." "No," reply. Instead, a series of coordinates blinked on their screen. Landing vectors Mars base. Controlled by Earth. Rail exhaled. "They're letting us in." The pilot gave a dry laugh. "Or letting us see what they want us to see." As the envoy ship descended toward the Mars surface, the clouds broke. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy saw the truth. Mars was no longer red. It was glowing. Cities, fields, domes, entire continents engineered into thriving, living human ecosystems. They didn't just survive. They built, and they never told anyone. Rail barely managed a whisper. They weren't silent. They were busy. He had no idea the real surprise wasn't beneath the surface, but waiting just beyond Saturn. 6 ships drifted at the edge of known space, hidden behind Saturn's rings. They weren't official council vessels. No sigils. No logs. Just Black Ops reconnaissance crafts, sent without debate, without public record. The kind of ships built when fear needs privacy. Captain Yex of the Onvathi Dominion sat in his command chair, tail coiled tightly around the post. His crew worked in silence, every eye fixed on the data streams crawling in. "Any movement?" he asked. "None," replied the sensor officer. "Still just floating there?" Yex leaned forward. "How many vessels?" The officer swallowed. "Unknown." He tapped the hollow panel. The screen flickered, and then it stabilized. Rows, not ships, rows of them. Hundreds. No, thousands. Each one distinct, some sleek and dagger-shaped, others vast and hulking like drifting mountains, all motionless. All dormant,